Welcome to another episode of That's What They Said, a podcast where we question the questionable lyrics of your favorite songs. Sarina&Scott Spinelli breaking down Billy Joel's longest release song ever. Scenes from an Italian restaurant, clocking in at 7 minutes and 36 seconds. This might be a little bit longer than 20 minutes today for the podcast. Scott, this song is freaking one of the best songs ever. It's a great song. Loved it, Joel. Love this song, but it's a long one.
It is, in fact, as you said, it's his longest of any of his songs, excluding live recordings and excluding that he did an album of classical music, and I think those tracks were longer. But of his like rock music, pop music career, this is the longest one. And then another fun fact: never released as a single. And I'm sure, I don't know if you saw that, but never released as a single.
No Billboard charts.
Well, so it was on The Stranger, and The Stranger is just, that album was born in banger Maine, because it is just hit after hit. I mean, it is just unbelievable, some of the tracks he has on there. And another fun fact, you said it's one of the best songs of all time. Rolling Stone ranked it number 324 on their revamped top 500 list of best songs of all time. And I find it interesting. I'd love to know, I couldn't figure this out, but I'm curious how many other songs on that top 500 list were not singles.
Oh, yeah. I just want to know, like, what ridiculous song is above, in 322 or.
Well, I mean, okay, so this is a side. We're already going far afield here, but for the last couple of years, I took Rolling Stone's top 500 albums list, and I've been going through that list.
Oh.
Literally, like, just if I can work with music on. I know some people have trouble with that. So if I have like sort of busy work to do or whatever, I'll put an album on. I'm like, I think I'm somewhere in the 200 or 300s. I've been doing it for 3 years now. But that's just to say, I really like gotten to learn some music I didn't know, and whatever. But what's interesting is like, how in the world did they decide this is 299 and this is 300? Like, come on.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you're getting deep there.
Yeah.
This is, it was part of 1997 or 1977. That's very different timing. 1977 album The Stranger, which has You Should Not Be a Stranger with The Stranger. Let's just put it that way.
And speaking of which, and I don't want to blow him up, but you told me a story just before we started here about someone close in your life that had not known this song or this record, really.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I think what's interesting about that is primarily that, like you said he did know, like someone, he probably knew Move It Out, let's say, right? Or one
Piano Man.
Exactly. Songs that everyone's heard.
Yeah.
This song is interesting in that, like I said, because it wasn't released as a single, it's not that, and it's 7 minutes long. It's not like everyone does know about it, but it's not surprising to me when people who are aware still don't know it. It's just one of those songs. It's kind of weird.
The fire trucks are like alarming us that we should all be aware of this song. But you're right. And I also, the person close to me that had not heard of this song, I also was like, I feel like they might have heard this song because the song, like this is 3 songs to me.
Yes.
Right? Like it starts out drinking at an Italian restaurant. Then it goes into his reflection on, being a teenager in New York City. And then it goes into the story of Brenda and Eddie. And then it kind of wraps back in a nice little bow at the Italian restaurant. But there's 3 different songs in this song.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've loved this song. I mean, I've always loved this song. Next week's episode, as you'll hear when we get into that one, is the polar opposite. I don't quite care for it. But I love this song. I definitely picked this song. And in fact, on our list, we had a little bit of a discussion. Should we do this song or should we do We Didn't Start the Fire? And in fact, as someone who I consider myself a fairly big Billy Joel fan, We Didn't Start the Fire is one of the most irritating songs of his of all time to me. Maybe we'll get to it eventually, precisely because of that.
Because of that, yeah.
But this song is just fantastic. Before we get to lyrics, some fun facts? A couple more fun facts?
Denver Nugs, bring it on.
Yeah, here we go. We'll call this one.
We should bring on a Denver Nugget to just give us.
You could help with that more than I could, frankly.
I'll just hit up a few of them. Yeah, no problem. Okay.
We'll call this one a Bruce Brown.
Okay.
For those of you NBA heads out there. So, for a couple first things. One, we talked about the ranking on the list. Do you know what what's Italian restaurant it was based off?
I don't.
Okay, so it was
the music video, but it wasn't. Go ahead.
yeah, Cacciatore's, I think it says,
Cacciatore, yeah.
which is from Moving Out. Mr. Cacciatore's down on Sullivan
Yeah,
Street, right?
okay.
That's what I think
Yeah.
that's from.
Okay.
So funny thing is, someone gave me years ago a recording off of the radio, a Billy Joel concert in May of 1977, and it's awesome. Actually, I'll send it to you when we're done, honestly, or I'll just send you the track or whatever, this particular one. And in it, he plays Scenes from an Italian Restaurant for what appears to be the very first time. He literally says, "This is a premiere of sorts."
Oh.
Right, and says, "This is I'd like to dedicate this to Cristiano's Restaurant." So I always thought that it was based off of Cristiano's Restaurant. I was doing some reading today, and it turns out it's not based off Cristiano's Restaurant. What it was it's like when you do a show in the Bronx, as he said, and you say like, "Where are my Yankee fans?" Or you do like, you show up somewhere and you pander to the crowd. That's what he was doing, because that was a restaurant like right near. It was at CW Post College on Long Island, and it was a restaurant like in the area.
Wow.
What it's actually based off of is a place called Fontana di Trevi, which was near Carnegie Hall. That's what it's based off of.
Okay, I read something about that because there was a A&E special, and Billy Joel had said he had come up with the bottle of white, bottle of red, because a waiter at a restaurant ended up saying to him, "Bottle of white, bottle of red, perhaps a bottle of rosé instead." Which I want to hear some more Denver Nugs, but to me, as a former waiter, like lines like that get you good tips, and lines like that make it into a Billy Joel song, apparently.
Well, that's one of my favorite things about Billy Joel, is that like he, I think some people criticize him in the sense that he was very poppy. You know what I mean? He's not like but some of the way he tells stories in his songs, it's fantastic.
Great.
And when I've listened to some of these concerts where he'll talk afterwards, or like, he'll like, somebody will ask questions or whatever, and they'll say things like, "What was that about?" He goes, "No, that was really just a guy that I met that said that thing, and I thought that worked." You know what I mean? Like, it feels almost like you're talking to like Larry David, in the sense that like, this was a thing that happened to me, so then I used it in an episode. You know, like that's what happened. Like, it's sometimes people look for this divine inspiration. Like the song Vienna is based off of, I believe, his father or his one of the two. No, his father lived in Vienna, and about how like they value older generations there more than they do here. So that one's like a little different, right? But like Rosalinda's Eyes, it's his mom, right? Like some of them are a little obvious, but this one, like, it seems like, oh well, I wonder what that's based off. It's like, I don't know, it's pretty obvious. Like,
I mean, horror movie like writers don't have to be murderers in order to write their stories. So
be amazing if they were. At some point, it's just like, let's talk to the Scream people. They're doing the same thing over and over again. Just get the guy,
Yeah,
like,
get him already. Yeah. Was there another Denver Nug? Yeah.
I got one more Denver Nug, which was, or two more, I should say, real quick. That first off, apparently he said that the second side of Abbey Road was what influenced this song. So that's interesting. And then additionally, that at least the middle portion of the song, perhaps the entire thing, was originally called The Ballad of Brenda and Eddie, not so much the scenes of from an Italian restaurant. So those are my fun facts. It's like a radio show. I'll hang up and listen to the rest, and you can carry on from here.
Well, we'll start with the lyrics, because it's a long song and it has a ballad of Brenda and Eddie, and we can talk about them for quite a while. But yes, I mean, it starts off with his bottle of white, bottle of red. This guy's in a restaurant, and then the song goes into like a long musical moment of like heavy sax and violin. And to me, my favorite part of the song is where he starts to play the piano pretty heavy, and he goes,
and
"Things are okay with me these days. Got a good job, got a good office, got a new wife, got a new life." I mean, the way he said it was very mundane, but the chords on the piano were like bump. That was my favorite part of the song, to be quite honest. I don't know.
Let me back up a second, because I usually ask you this and I forgot to ask you. What is your history with the song? Did you know that? I mean, I knew you knew the song before we recorded, but had you been a fan of this song, or where did you land with this one?
Oh, yeah, listen to Billy Joel.
You remember when it came out?
I wasn't born in 1977.
I love when you answer.
But I listened to you, Scott. When you insult me, I'm not as old as I look. No, but I love Billy Joel. I listened to him because my mom put me on. Again, I probably come from like a pretty eclectic background of music because my pops wanted to learn English. So he was listening
Mm.
to the Beatles and the Rolling Stones as one of the only Puerto Ricans in the Bronx that really listened to them. But then my mom was like a huge rock and roll fan too. And so she loved Billy Joel. So we had the tape, the album, the record, the CD. It came in all forms as technology improved. And
Sure,
this is
sure.
a song that I love. So
Awesome. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I knew that was the case, but I was,
but I
yeah,
didn't know. I mean, again, I liked that part where he starts playing the chords, and to me, it's the second part of the song. But I didn't know any. I really didn't pay attention to the lyrics. I'm a little concerned with Brenda and Eddie, to be quite honest, whose
we're gonna get
information
into
is
Brendan.
just. I mean, it's all out there.
We're gonna get to Brendan Eddie. I will just say one other comment on the bottle of red, bottle of white line is I, as an Italian guy who grew up with like my father drinking wine all the time, and it's just like
Yeah,
a thing, not that Italian people invented wine, right? Like,
maybe.
you know what I mean? It's, maybe, but I just mean more like it's not like it's singular to Italian people. I just mean that was something that like right off the bat. I mean, obviously it's in the title of the song, but it's also one of those things where it's like right off the bat, you got me. I'm in. I'm in. I'm
Right.
in right away. And then, like to your point, when that dun dun dun,
Freaking good.
yeah,
I'm in. I'm in. Um. So yeah, I'm ready to get to Brenda and Eddie because
please.
they have a whole song written about them. It's like, Billy, you've given a lot of people info about my love life. If I'm Brenda and Eddie, he gets into it. Brenda and Eddie were popular steadies and the king and queen of the prom. Like, remember those? And that's what I appreciate. He introduces them as pop. They were the popular kids, and everything just falls down from there.
Yeah, frankly, the song is kind of sad when you think about
It
it,
is.
but
It's about
but
a divorce.
yeah, it's basically just about how like these losers were only cool for 4 years, right? Like, and we all thought they were great. Turns out they were losers.
Yeah.
But here's my thing. It, I first of all, I'm convinced that he says Brender, not Brenda.
Oh yeah.
That's my first thing. I think I know he's not actually
Brenda and
Brender,
Eddie.
Brender and Eddie.
Yeah.
Exactly. Second thing is, are those the most like 70s, 80s names you've ever heard of in your life? Like, imagine, okay, do you have friends who have kids?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Do any of them have a boy and a girl as children?
Yeah.
Okay. Imagine if you said to them, "Oh, what did you name your kids?" And they said Brenda and Eddie. You'd be like, "Are you what time zone? What decade are you
Yeah.
living in?"
Right.
It's so dated. Like, I, I mean, it's just one of those things that just like really always stands out to me that like
But how many kids were then named Brenda and Eddie because of this song?
that's true. But I always thought about like, why aren't there more LeBrons running around?
Hmm. My
Like
mom wanted to name me Layla after
the Eric Clapton song.
yes. I
Yeah.
was almost Layla Morales, which I find to be way more exciting than Serena, but whatever. It's here nor there.
No, sure, that's fair. I mean, Layla, I guess would work. Yeah, I mean, yeah. No, I don't know if my parents had anything.
Scott, I mean, you're right there with Brenda and Eddie.
You don't meet a lot of Scots, do you? I mean, do you know a lot of Scots?
I know a few. I know a
Yeah,
few.
let's
You're
talk
not
about
the
each.
only one. You're
Well, no,
not the only
let's
one.
talk about each one in depth here for a few seconds. I just
Yeah,
feel
you're
like,
right.
yeah, I feel like
Brenda
it's
and
one of
Eddie
those.
is of the
Yeah,
time. We know where he's been and where he's living, and it's in the 1970s.
yeah, uh-huh.
So, um,
But we all knew, but that's what makes this song so timeless, regardless of how stupid the names might sound now or dated, right?
yeah.
Like the that group, that couple, I'm sure you like when you listen to this song, even though it's
Do you
what is
think
that?
he changed the name of them? He kept them the same, right? Like,
Oh no, I think
remember
he
these two
changed.
losers?
I think he changed
Oh,
names.
you do? Because I'd be
Yeah.
like, man, I could never. They're hearing this song later on. How dare he bring us up? I
Well, also
don't
for those
understand.
words, those two names also rhyme easily. Eddie
Yeah,
is an
that's
easy
fair.
word to rhyme, and Brenda is an
Brenda,
easy word to
you're right. Fine.
Um, but
Fine.
I think to me, I think what makes the song so great is that like it's not just um like everyone can relate to it regardless of the names. Like everyone
Mm-hmm.
who went to high school
Yep.
knows that couple that he's talking about.
Yeah.
And the song is what, 23, 45 years old, right? And
Yeah.
like it still resonates. I'm thinking of people from my high school when I listen to that. And like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you do the same. And yeah, so anyway.
No, I'm with you. And also the fact that I don't know. So apparently he wrote the music first and then wrote the lyrics to the music. And
Oh,
I also find that fascinating because I'm like, man, he broke this up where he's like, all right, I'm at an Italian restaurant. I'm having wine. I'm feeling good. I'm going to talk about the good old days of my teenage years. I mean, he talks about, you know, I got a new wife, a new life, and talks about hanging out in the village green and all that stuff. And then it just goes to Brenda and Eddie. And I'm like, man, all right, they did something to you.
something happened with Brendan Eddy. I mean, you want to get
Maybe
into
he
their
had a
ballad?
crush
Yeah.
on Brenda. I don't know. I'm just having a
I mean, he could get whoever he wanted. Some miraculously, he could. I
could
mean, he
have
could
had
have had.
Eddie. Both
I was
of
gonna
them.
say he probably did have Brenda and Eddie. That's what
He
broke them up.
probably did.
He
Yeah.
broke them up. I think. Okay, so okay, let's just. I mean, we can skip around verse wise, but in
Yeah,
terms
that's
of
fine.
the ballad of Brendan Eddy for a second
Yes,
here.
please.
The line where he goes, Brenda, you know that you're much too lazy, and Eddie could never afford to live that kind of life. Like,
Yeah.
it's just amazing how quickly he just went to calling them both just total fucking deadbeats. Like, you
Oh.
guys are losers.
Yep.
And what sort of life? I mean, frankly, like, I got more to say, but go ahead.
No,
Yeah,
I wrote that exact lyric down. I said, "Yikes, this isn't going well."
yes.
Like, whoa. I mean,
So,
oh, go ahead.
no, but like to the point of it's not going well. What doesn't make sense to me about this is the timing of all of it, right? They're high school sweethearts, right?
Uh-huh.
And then he says that Brenda decided, I forget the exact lyric, but something like Brenda decided that the wedding was going to be in July.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then a couple verses later, it's the end of that same summer, and they're getting divorced.
I know.
Right? Unless I misread the lyric, I'm looking for it right now, but I'm pretty sure
they decided the marriage would be at the end of the July, and then they had a very extravagant life apparently, and they were waving Brenda and Eddie goodbye. They got the apartment, deep pile carpet, couple paintings from Sears. Can I just note that? Pictures from Sears sounds terrible. Like, what kind of taste did they have?
I think that was kind of the idea that they were like kind of not able to live. They were no longer the king and the queen of the prom. They were.
Oh, you think? Because I was like, maybe Sears back then was like the shizzle, and it was
Well,
like,
I mean, I think it was probably better than we think it is for sure. But I mean,
is Sears even around? People buy tires from Sears.
Yeah, I don't think you buy paintings from Sears any longer.
No.
But
tile carpet also.
But I do think too, like I thought it was funny how their version of luxury was that they saved up a ton of money for a king size waterbed.
Also, like, which remember those? Like
yes.
they're discontinued.
Do they honestly not make? Can you buy one? I wonder if
you can somewhere on like.
Have you ever slept on one?
No, that sounds terrible.
They're horrible.
Mold, like you have water in a thing sitting around all the time. Think of trying to get on a floaty device or like a floaty at a pool, and how hard it is to get into one.
That's the issue. It's not the mold because it's sealed up. You know what I mean?
Guess.
It's more like you're not in the water, obviously.
No, but
it's more just like I don't know about you. I move around when I sleep. What I don't need is to like for a wave pool to exist in my bedroom.
Yeah.
Because everything is like, yeah.
Yeah, no.
Hard pass with that.
Big water bed that they bought with the bread that they saved for a couple of years. And yes, I took notes. There is some article that's the demise of the waterbed. Waterbed sales stayed strong until the end of the 1980s. But as time went on, they became less and less popular, although offered a comfortable sleep. They did have their problems. Many people reported feeling seasick.
Yeah.
After sleeping on a hello, it's water.
That doesn't surprise me at all. What did you think was going to happen?
Yeah, water beds. Oh my gosh, they cause people to die, like because people would throw their babies on the beds. I'm like, what logic?
Wait, babies and dying? I don't get this. What does that have to do with
I guess they would have the baby in the water bed, and the baby would like roll over and couldn't move because it's not a flat surface.
Sure.
Like, I mean, they're not. They're discontinued from what my understanding.
For a reason. I just thought it was funny how like it's always interesting to think about like there was I think it was
used to be a real fancy thing, waterbed.
In what's it in Juicy, in the video for Juicy, the Biggie song, there's a scene where they're literally playing Super Nintendo, right? Because of the lyric, and it's just these guys in the lap of luxury at the time playing like Street Fighter, I think is what's going on, and it is so like watching it now, it's like, yeah, this was probably the peak for them at that moment. And you look at it now, it's like it looks like they're doing it ironically. Like it looks so stupid, but it is what it is. I mean, time marches, time stops for no man, even those who invest in waterbeds. But I will say too, there was the bridge, right, where he goes, yeah, rock and roll, where he shouts it. That was the one part I was like, this is so lazy. Yeah, exactly. I was like,
what else do you have to say?
So don't say anything. Just let the music come in.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That was corny.
Through this whole story, very detailed. I mean, we know about their water beds, their pile carpets, what wine he's drinking, where he went and hung out in high school, and then it's like, yeah, rock and roll.
Rock and roll just sounds like the kind of thing though that like a dad would say. Like it's just like so corny. You don't need to say rock and roll when you're doing rock and roll. It would be like a comedian in the middle of a joke goes comedy. You're like, you don't need to do that. We know it's rock and roll. We're listening along with you. Like, I don't know. NBA players don't shout basketball every time they make a shot. It's just like so lame. I don't know. It felt like, I don't know. Maybe that's the cornball shit that like people don't like about him. I don't know. I think that because he's not, for a guy who has as many like songs that are in the public consciousness, at least in America, I don't think he gets the respect that you would think he would,
Yeah. I mean, this guy has banger after banger of songs, so I hear you. I guess if he has one lazy moment, he's like, I just wrote this whole thing ballad. Like, I'm just gonna scream rock and roll at this point. I'm tired. People want to hear my voice more. The last thing on Brenda and Eddie, and this is actually like the last lyric that really stood out to me.
I think I know which one you're gonna say.
That's all I heard about Brenda and Eddie. Can't tell you more than I told you already, which I understand rhymes and it sounds great in the song, but I'm also like, imagine if someone's going up to him like, hey, I got more questions about Brenda and Eddie. Can you just keep bringing...
No. I can't tell you anything more because I told you already.
I told you already. And he's like, dude, leave me alone. I think that's the part where he's like, you know what? F this. I'm going back to the restaurant. That's why he ends it back at the Italian restaurant.
The lyric I thought was interesting, and this is more of just a social commentary thing towards the end, is where he goes, they got a divorce as a matter of course, and they parted the best of friends.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, word, they did. Yeah, it's like,
I don't think
so like they're still the best of friends. That would be weird if they were still the best of friends because they got divorced over the course of the song is almost longer than their marriage. Yes. It's a 7.5 minute song and a 3-month marriage. Maybe not even 3 months, because if they got married in July and they were done by the end of the summer, depending upon when they got married, it could be like a 10-week marriage.
You're right. It's like an episode of Love is Blind. You're right.
Once again, more dated commentary for you. By the time you hear this, they'll be on season 5.
I love Love is Blind.
I know. I'm excited to catch up.
I won't spoil it for you. But yeah, no, and also Brenda was lazy. Eddie just was like, I can't afford this lifestyle. I really should have thought about these things, but you can imagine how many people got married in a rush because that was the thing to do.
Of course. They were, too busy hanging out in the Village Green. I think with this song too, like I would think about like what were they fighting about? Was it like I wanted a water bed, you wanted a regular bed? Like at some point they weren't even like what doesn't make sense. And again, I get it, but like this is nitpicking, but this is what this whole podcast is really.
Yeah.
Why did he say why did it have to be that they broke up in the summer of the same year that they got married? Why wouldn't it's like just from like a practical standpoint, because he gives so many other real life details, like you said, the carpet and this, that, and the third.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't really make sense that they would be they would go from she's too lazy and they don't have enough money in 3 months, just it's over. How could that be?
Maybe that's why he's singing about them, because it was such a freaking crazy turn of events. It was like, man, you guys had it all. I mean, you were the prom king and queen, and now you're best of friends, but that's what you're telling everyone.
That is one high school trope I always feel like that never was quite true, right? I do think a lot of high school things are very true. Like there were cliques, there were nerds, and there were band kids, and there were jocks, and whatever, right? Like obviously everyone associated with everyone. At least in my school, like we were friends with various people. But one thing that was not true is this notion of like the prom king and the prom queen dating. It never seemed to be that way for me. Huh. They were, I don't know about you at your high school, but like one would be like they were just very different people. Like maybe like the prom queen was like a very smart girl, let's say, and the prom king was a sort of a jockey dummy type, or vice versa. I remember a couple years above, it was like the best basketball player in our high school's history, I think, might have been the prom queen. I'm making this up, but something like that. It was never like, oh, it's boyfriend, girlfriend who are prom king and queen.
I mean, they made a whole movie on like She's All That because of the prom king and queen.
Oh, sure. I know. I'm very familiar with all those movies.
Yeah. So you're right. I don't even remember the prom king and queen at my high school. It was way too big. There were 5,000 kids in that school. No one.
How many kids were in your grade?
Like 1,000.
Holy shit.
Big school.
See, what, dear listener, before we go here, what you don't know is that Sarina actually was the prom king and the prom queen. She was that dope. She was both.
I take pride in the fact that I ran for student council for some reason.
Nerd.
And well, I was captain of the softball team. And I was like, oh, I should like balance myself out. It was more to get into Syracuse.
Yeah, sure.
And but I ran, and I was only at DeWitt Clinton for 2 years because I transferred from Catholic school to public school because Catholic school is way too expensive. I don't know why we even thought I should go there.
Yeah.
But I transferred, and I won vice president of the senior class, and I was at the school for it was like my second year.
That's impressive.
I think it was insulting to kids who had been there running against me. And they're like, are you kidding me? This chick comes in here and she's like captain of the softball team playing volleyball. And I'm here like, I'd like to run. That was the funny part.
Maybe you won because, hey, it's something new. That's kind of fun and exciting.
I had ideas from Catholic school and saving money. She must have other ideas.
And we're going to take Gatorade and put it in the water fountains. It's going to be a whole new world here.
We're going to have like wine and beer on tap.
Under your administration, many of those changes did come in. I know.
Yeah, happy. Yeah, DeWitt Clinton.
Yeah.
Way better now. Any final thoughts of this song?
No, I just wish the best to Brenda and Eddie. I mean, I hope that everything worked out, and I hope that Brenda found someone to take care of her, and I hope that neither of them are as lazy as they were as kids. I think they'll probably be fine, though, by this point.
They'll be okay. I would say if not, I hope they went to therapy.
Actually, final thought is this. There are definitely a million people that he grew up with, right, that think that this song's about them. That's probably got to be irritating to him. That he, like, anybody who comes in contact with him is like, that song was about so-and-so, right? It's like, no, man.
No, everyone got divorced in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, it's kind of an amalgamation of a number of you losers. Like,
and I don't want to be associated with anybody.
Yeah.
Drink my red wine.
Chug up the middle finger and you're out. Chris Brown,
and
deuce.
You're out. That's another episode of That's What They Said, a podcast where we question the questionable lyrics of your favorite song, scenes from an Italian restaurant. We will see you next time for a song that Scott Spinelli hates.